Good afternoon, Israel Briefers, and welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, in a chilly and rainy Israel. I must tell you, this is my favorite kind of weather. And last night we were woken up to quite a massive storm and big claps of thunder. And it was a relief to realize that the booms were from the weather and not from any missiles or rockets. The weather has caused some flooding throughout the country. Some roads have been closed, but as a desert country, we certainly welcome the rain. That aside, this is the Israel Brief, where you guys join me every Monday to Thursday to take a look at the top stories making headlines in Israel. And as always, we do it in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. It is day 781. We still have 3 of our brothers whose remains are being held hostage in the Gaza Strip, and that is going to be our top story in a second. But guys, don't forget that every Thursday I bring you your nominations and recommendations of Mensch and Moron, or Menches and Morons of the week, and I have already started to receive those. So guys, if you can get those through to me by about lunchtime tomorrow so that I don't miss anybody's recommendations, that would be awesome. And if you have an audience question, and we've got those coming in at a rate of knots, so thank you guys for being interactive, then don't forget to be in contact either via our website or via our social media. So let's start with the top story. And yesterday I brought you the news story that Palestinian Islamic Jihad had located the remains of a hostage in Nuseirat in the center of the Gaza Strip. Now, according to the agreement, what they should have done is immediately transferred those remains to the Red Cross, who would have transferred them to the IDF and then to the Forensic Institute for forensic testing. However, they failed to do that. Now, earlier today, the Prime Minister's office released a statement calling it their failure to hand in the body, something that we view with the most severe concern, and that this was a clear violation of the agreement, the ceasefire agreement. If you recall, President Trump said by the 12th of October, we need to have all hostages, the living and the deceased, returned. And we still have these 3 hostages whose remains are being held in Gaza. Now, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad said a short while ago that they will transfer the body to the Red Cross at 4 p.m., which is about just over half an hour from now. Staying with President Trump, and the American president has signed an executive order to start the process to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization. Now, this is a very interesting one because the Muslim Brotherhood, of whom Hamas is an offshoot of, don't really have a centralized organization. They don't really have HQ. All the chapters kind of run differently. So what the president has done, he's ordered the Secretary of State and the Treasurer to take 30 days to compile a report on how the Muslim Brotherhood operates in countries like Lebanon, Egypt, and Jordan. And from there, he will make the decision to designate them a foreign terrorist organization. And how this will work on the ground, what the punitive damages for anybody who is found to be a member, what that will be, we still don't know. However, last week, the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, and already ICE agents have deported somebody from Dallas who has significant ties to the organization. Now, during the war, I spoke to you a lot about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or the GHF. And if you recall, I still went into Gaza, I think it was around about August time, to see the pallets of humanitarian aid that were piling up that the UN had not collected. Now, yesterday, the GHF announced that they would be ending their operations in the Gaza Strip after 5 months. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the extraordinary and historic job this organization has done, handing out over 187 million individual meals directly to civilians in Gaza. It's an extraordinary feat, even more so because of the attacks from the international media, from the United Nations and the NGO ecosystem, who the GHF actually offered to assist and who they turned down. They worked in cooperation or with the IDF. Meals were handed out peacefully, contrary to the disinformation and smear campaigns that were conducted against them, including some of the world leaders perpetuating this myth of a famine. And all you had to do was to see the faces of civilians in the Gaza Strip, especially women and children who had their own specific time to collect aid, the smiles and the gratitude on their faces. And they were also joined by dignitaries like Steve Witkoff, Ambassador Huckabee, Jared Kushner, as well as 2 granddaughters of the late former South African president and human rights icon Nelson Mandela, granddaughters who then said, and I actually interviewed them afterwards, who said that their expectation was that there was a shortage of food. They went in, they were able to hand out aid. The situation was very peaceful, very hopeful, contrary to what the media said. So to Reverend Johnny Moore and your team at the GHF, we salute you and we thank you for your extraordinary service. And finally, and I'm going to get a little bit on my soapbox here, today is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And gender-based violence is a scourge on society that happens in every society, in every country, including here in Israel. But I want to take a moment to focus on the gender-based violence and crimes of sexual violence that were carried out against Israeli women and girls, including Christian Israelis, including Muslim Israelis, and including our male hostages on the 7th of October and in the years that followed, in the 2 years that have followed. I want to focus on this because there has been a concerted effort by feminist organizations, by NGOs, by world leaders, by the media, and including by the Special Rapporteur on Gender-Based Violence at the United Nations, Reem Salem, to deny that there was crimes of sexual violence committed against our women and girls. It seems that the tenet believe all victims and Me Too is completely ignored if the victims happen to be Jewish and happen to be Israeli. And the reason that I'm speaking is because we've heard from incredibly brave hostages like Guy Gilboa Dalal and Ram Braslavsky, who have spoken of their horrific experiences in captivity, and also the incredibly brave Aviva Siegel, who testified before the United Nations on witnessing the sexual abuse of young female hostages in captivity, some as young as 16. We've got ample proof. I have seen the proof myself. I have been to army intelligence. I have seen some of the proof that I cannot unsee. I've seen the proof myself. We live in a world where there is some kind of horrific purity test that you have got to pass. And if you're Jewish or if you're an Israeli and if you're a victim, you don't seem to be treated with the same respect and acknowledgement that other victims are. And all it does is does a disservice to the future victims of gender-based violence because it tells them that there are stipulations, that there is a litmus test to where you can be believed. If you are watching from a feminist organization or a media organization, or you yourself has denied or laughed in the face of this atrocity, shame on you. You are complicit in these crimes. As the UN envoy for UN Women, who came out, I think it was about 3 months after the fact, she said, she filed in her report that there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened. To have her colleagues sit in the plenary of the United Nations and deny this happened is a crime against humanity. And I will not be silent. I will not be silent, especially on a day like today, because the victims who this happened to, most of them have been silenced forever. And as long as I will live, I will be the voice of my sisters and brothers whose voices were silenced forever. So with that said, let's take the audience question of the day. And it comes from Itzik from here in Modi'in. Itzik, this is your question, who actually raised quite an important issue. He said, the hostages are out there, they're speaking, they're telling everybody about their horrific experiences, but could this be placing themselves in any kind of danger? Is there any kind of protection for them? And I think that's a very, very important question. So thank you, Itzik, for raising it. And as far as we know, there haven't been any kinds of threats that at least we know of around our hostages that has warranted any kind of need for security or any kind of protection. I think we also have to remember, as they testify, Hamas and Palestinian and Islamic Jihad and the other terrorist organizations who held them captive are proud of what they did. They're extremely proud of what they did. They recorded it on the day. They've boasted about it in interrogation. They're extremely, extremely proud of what they did. So there can be no denial. And I think it's also very important that we hear from hostages what happened to them, because it's also part of their healing process. And as the world moves on and people tend to forget about what they went through and forget about the fact that we still have 3 whose remains are held hostage, so it is vital that we continue to bear witness. And we don't only bear witness to what they have endured, we bear witness to the atrocities that organizations like these terror organizations are capable of perpetrating. So at the moment, no credible threat that warrants any kind of protection. So thank goodness we are able to see them and to hear from those who feel strong enough to tell their story. So Itzik, I hope that answers your question. So guys, that's it from me for today. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. So if you like our content, please hit that red subscribe button. We are on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Substack at Rolene Marks, Facebook at Lottel Site. And if I'm forgetting any, I know you guys will remind me. So guys, God bless you all. You know I love you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.